po ang hatid namin sa inyo ngayong hapon sa Kababayan, LA. For parents who are watching us, how well do you know your kids, especially if they're teenagers? How do you know, or how can you tell if they are abusing drugs and or alcohol? We're going to be talking about that today on the show, Signs to Look Out For. And especially for the youth watching us right now, I know it's so difficult peer pressure or to deal with peer pressure, but you can't say no. And we're going to be talking about that today as well. Ngayong hapon sa Kababayan, LA, we have two reformed drug addicts who will be sharing their stories with us, very compelling stories, how was life like before the drugs, during the drugs, and after the drugs, and how they got away. We're going to be talking about all that today. Full show on drug abuse prevention on Kababayan, LA, because that is important to our society. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. My name is Janelle Sawyer, Kababayan in Los Angeles, and joining us this afternoon are representatives from ADAP, which is Asian
American Drug Abuse Program.
Hello, Carol Almeida and Richard Biz. Welcome to Kababayan, LA. Once again, I know you've been here before.
Yes.
We've talked about this topic.
Yes.
And now we're going to be talking about it again because are times changing? Is it even getting better? What are the numbers? Are there numbers to show how prevalent the problem is, Carol?
Yes. In a 2007 survey of Phil-American, it was found out that among the Filipino-American respondents that we interviewed, 97% claimed to have used alcohol, another 93% claimed to have used marijuana, and about 40% claimed to have used meth.
And wow, meth is very dangerous.
Especially among first-generation Filipinos.
When you say first-generation Filipinos,
recently arrived immigrants.
Is it because of our culture in the Philippines? They don't card people there. You can drink at any age. Start drinking at 14, 12.
Well, I think you know, the norm of you know, get-togethers and having parties and having the alcohol available there is something that's very common in our community. The problem that we have though is where the youth, they have that access. The parents, in our survey we had 81% of the youth said that it was okay. Their parents said that it was okay for them to drink. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's not an issue of whether the youth is getting carded for it because they're not necessarily the ones purchasing it.
Right, because at home the parents are allowing their kids to drink. And when we say youth, are we talking about underage, like 18 and below, or
18 and below?
Okay, but how reliable are the numbers? Could it be that when you do the survey, you know, some youth, members of our youth were just saying that because they want to feel accepted by their friends, or was it a private survey?
You know, it was, the surveys were not just done at one point in time.
Okay.
And they were not just done in you know, a single community. Mm-hmm. We have undertaken surveys, Richard, as early as 2004, another one in 2006, 2007, and so on and so forth. Up to about this year, we've done surveys affirming, verifying, validating that indeed, I mean, these are really the substances used by our youth.
They're filling out forms, no?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, or interview, or even focus groups.
Focus group discussions, yes.
Yeah.
But, and so the numbers are alarming, Richard.
I think it's very alarming. Our survey in 2007 showed that 68% of the youth that we had surveyed had used alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamine, ecstasy, and NOS. Mm-hmm. You know, so there is a high number of use among the youth when it comes to the drugs.
Yeah, what do they use it for?
Well, just to have a cool lifestyle, they said, peer pressure, or out of stress or frustration.
Okay. And where do they get these drugs from? And that is very important, because if we don't make it available to them, then they have a harder time using it. But apparently, as I was telling you before we started the show, I was talking to a high school kid not too long ago, and she said that it's readily available in schools. During lunch break, you can purchase.
Yes.
These days it's like that now.
Yeah, these days, yeah.
A lot of, I mean, with marijuana, and kids bring the stuff to school. They sell it in school. You know, it's easily accessible. But I think one of the issues that we have in our community is the fact that some of these drugs are accessible at home. Even at home, older siblings would bring them.
Okay.
Maybe even we have younger, we have parents now who are the age of 30 and 40 who was exposed to it when they were in high school. So now they're providing it to their young kids. We have a problem in that.
Why are parents doing that? Is it because they want their kids to do it with them as opposed to doing it outside of the house with peers, or?
I think that's one of the messages that we got to put out. There's got to be another way of teaching the youth to grow up.
Right.
There's got to be another, instead of giving the alcohol and drink up, you're a man now. Do something else, or instead of, exposing them to marijuana in order to show how strong they are and how they can take it. There's got to be other ways of teaching our kids to grow up.
Because I would think that even with alcohol, if you start it at a later age in life where, your brain has fully formed and then you have complete reasoning capabilities, then you can control it, perhaps. And as opposed to even with drugs, I guess, marijuana, smoking, if you're experimenting at a very, very young age, there is a high risk of getting hooked.
Yes, especially it's true for alcohol, tobacco. I mean, the younger you start, the more likely the more likely you will be addicted to it.
All right. Well, very alarming numbers, but very informative discussion as well. When we return on the show, we are going to hear from those who have been there, members of our youth community that have been addicted to drugs but are now reformed. We're going to be talking to them when we return. Don't go away.